Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I know you have a lot of choices at this time of day. I'm glad you've made this choice because this is where all the smart, good-looking people are. So awesome. So this session is about SEO and content marketing. So where I'm coming from on this topic is I actually got into the marketing business as an SEO type person, and I introduced SEO as a product at a PR firm, and we gave it a name. TopRank is the name of this product. And eventually TopRank became most of the revenue of the company, so the founder said, hey Lee, why don't you be the CEO and we'll change the name of our company. And so I'm like, okay, sure. And that happened many, many, many years ago, but I started in the late 90s. And in fact, I actually wrote a book about the topic, Optimize. If you haven't heard of it, just type in the word Optimize into Google, as you should be able to do. You'll easily be able to find it. I'm actually giving away 2 copies of this for the best tweets. My associate in Minneapolis is monitoring the Twitter stream for usage of the conference hashtag and my Twitter handle, and then she'll text me when I'm done talking and let me know who won a copy of this book. And this book is a manual for planning, implementation, and scaling optimized content operations in a company. So there you go, done with that part. I'm going to talk about a lot of stuff, and I'm going to have to talk fast because I've only got 28 minutes and 52 seconds. So make sure you download this presentation. Just get it done. Take a picture. Don't bother taking notes if you don't have to. Tweet your butt off, please. Tweet. But don't worry about it because there's a lot of information I'm going to share with you, and you can get it all yourself here. So off we go. So what are most content marketers doing? I have an agency called TopRank Marketing along with Susan Michukanis. Our top 3 clients have a combined revenue of over $300 billion. We are a small agency, but we have a very big impact. And that doesn't even count the SEO and content work we're doing for LinkedIn. All 3 divisions actually at LinkedIn, as well as lots of other B2B technology companies. In my experience with SEO over the last a lot of years, this is what a lot of content marketers are doing. They'll do a tech SEO audit, and then they'll implement maybe 10 to 20% because, you know, IT doesn't want to cooperate. They'll make a list of keywords. Maybe they researched them. Maybe they came out of their own intuition what those keywords would be. And then they'll use those keywords in title tags, in the body copy, in your H1 tags, in the links between pages and that sort of stuff. And then they'll share that content on social networks with the hope of attracting inbound links from other websites. And then on a monthly basis, we'll look at ranking reports and organic referred search traffic to kind of see how we're doing. Does this look familiar? I hope it does, because this is the basics, right? This is what a lot of folks are doing. The problem is, that's like SEO 2010 or 2008, 2008, whatever. It's not bad, but it's not even table stakes in a competitive category, right? You have to be doing those things, but there's more to it because the nature of search and search engines is so dynamic and it changes so much. It's hard even for people who have really smart folks like we do to stay on top. People can go to the other end of the spectrum and go, well, everything we do must be seen through the filter of SEO. No, don't make that tweet unless there's a keyword. Make sure there's a keyword in that blog post title tag. Make sure you have a keyword in the infographic file name, and so on and so on and so forth. If you work with an SEO, they act like that, right? The world's going to end if you don't have a keyword in all the right places. And so my reaction to that is the only thing worse than old SEO is all SEO. Because Google's not paying the bills, your customers are paying the bills. So we should be optimizing for our customers, not just the search engine. So certainly I have an opinion about this, but there's something I like to do and keep my fingers on the pulse of what's happening in the industry. And obviously I pay attention to what positions are being hired and what are senior executives talking about. And the reason SEO is still so important, because a lot of folks are a little bit hating on SEO. In fact, like Jack, can't say his last name, but he was like, SEO is like the most boring. He didn't quite say it like that, but I heard it that way. SEO is the most boring of marketing tactics. It's globally, it's one of the top in-demand skill sets according to LinkedIn's survey of skills that folks are looking for. But I talked to some major brands like Allison Herzog at Dell. SEO is foundational, is a foundational element of digital marketing, but it's not the only thing. It needs to be coordinated. It needs to be part of the mix. Or Barbara Feinberg from McKesson, $138 billion pharma company. As long as there's a Google, SEO is going to be a staple in the digital marketing mix. So that's really the trend. And I've done these surveys with people in Europe and in the United States, and folks are saying, well, yeah, you know, SEO is a big deal, but it's not the only thing, right? And so there's a lot more to it. And the thing is there's so many options. People can find answers anywhere, right? In fact, mobile search has outpaced desktop or laptop search, if you will. And whenever you have a question, you know, it's like, oh, just Siri, or type it in and get the answers. It's a little answer engine here, right? And so there's so many other places where people can get answers, it's really hard to stand out. And I'm sure you've heard, since this is at the end of the event, people talking about self-directed buyers. At all stages of the buying cycle, according to this study from Gartner, people are self-driven search is the most trusted source of information when trying to make doing research into solutions. And this is a stat from Pardo. 70% of the buyer's journey is complete before they ever contact sales. What does that mean? That means there's more information people need. And as a brand, as a company that's marketing and creating useful content to feed the need for that information, we've got to step up our game, right? We've got to produce more content. In fact, I'll ask you, how many people are making less content now than you were last year? You're crazy, or you're really efficient. Yeah, most people are making more content, right? The demand is higher. And we've got to create it across all stages of the buying cycle. And a lot of people have a cynical or getting a cynical view, like Tom Fishburne does a great job of illustrating here, of a buying funnel. And yeah, of course, it's not linear. It looks more like that collection of extension cords you have in your kitchen, right? All the cables and da-da-da-da-da. That's what the buyer's journey really looks like. But the thing about that and the thing about what it means for search is that search can contribute audience. It can contribute visitors and traffic at the moment of need. Search is an explicit indication of intent, and it can deliver someone at the very moment that they need you, right? At all stages of the buying cycle, not just top of funnel, not just at end of funnel when they're making decisions. And that's important. It's a holistic view that's very, very important. And I like to say the strategy for approaching search holistically is this: be the best answer. Strive in all your content initiatives to be the very best answer wherever your customers are looking. Right? To be the best answer, you've got to go deep. You can't just put keywords and title tags and H1s and in body copy and bullets and cross-link in between pages. You've got to do more than that. You've got to identify specific topics that you stand for that are equally relevant to your buyer in their search for solutions. And then you've got to find the synonyms. You've got to find the related ideas and create a hub and spoke or constellation of ideas so that they are completely satisfied in their journey when they arrive on your site through search to answer their questions. That's what's rising above. And you can have situations like this where, you know, you might meet I'm sure you've met lots of people here, and hey, check them out on Twitter, check out their LinkedIn, maybe you go Google their company name and see their website. Maybe you do connect with them on LinkedIn or subscribe in some way. And you receive a follow-up email, and you go back and you Google the person's name to kind of see where they show up. You Google the name of the company, and maybe there's a solution that, you know, you're looking for relative to that person, and you go search on that solution, some broad concept like predictive marketing or analytics or CRM or marketing automation or whatever. And then you download something, and you get nurtures, and you contact the company, you get a trial, a demo, and ultimately you search the company just one last time to make sure that they really do, you know, they are the kind of business you want to do business with, and maybe you make a decision. This is one of an infinite number of possible paths, right? My point is search can play a very important role in all stages. And I know a lot of SEO folks are very focused on creating a lot more content because they believe that the more hooks you have in the water, the better. But, you know, is more content really better? I don't know. Not if it's crappy content. So we undertook a project a little while ago, and to talk about different content marketing tactics. This is a list of 30 different content marketing tactics. But that URL on top, That URL points to an index page that links off to 30 articles. The average word count is 1,000 or 1,200 words each. Each article has pros, cons, examples, and best practices. It's basically a book. But wait, you don't have to go to the URL. You can just go to Google right now on your phone and type in content marketing tactics. What is the #1 organic search result for that search phrase, or content marketing tactics? It's that web page. And that's just a practical example for you of what really deep content can do. You can type in pizza here, you can type in pizza on the other side of town, you're going to get different search results. Something's really got to be authoritative to be in that top position no matter where you search from. And I tried it from Amsterdam last week and it worked there too. But the point is that there's a lot of content people are investing in. My question is, are those efforts integrated? Oh, we're doing a white paper over here, case study, webinar, presentation, blog post. What's the connective tissue? What's the underlying narrative? Oftentimes it exists from a messaging standpoint, but is that messaging relevant for you, the product marketing manager, or is it relevant for the buyer? Is it relevant for what they're actively searching on? So the follow-up is, are all those content marketing tactics you're implementing optimized? Are you optimizing for discoverability? Are you optimizing for continuity in terms of an experience? One of the biggest contributions to great customer experience is continuity across channels. That wherever I look, I keep seeing your company and your brand stands for this. And I keep, whether it's an ad, an email, organic search, I keep seeing this continuous, this consistent message. And that is something that works really good for SEO as well. Because specificity, being specific, is what rises you to the top. Not trying to be all things to all people. So there's a good question, I think, is what's good for Google also good for search engine users? And in the past, not so much. All you had to do is technical manipulations in order to rank really high, and as long as you had a good ranking, the assumption was that that would attract traffic and you'd win the day. But there's been a lot of effort on Google's part to improve the quality of what they deliver to you when you look for something. And it's true at Bing as well. There's a correlation between the searcher experience and ad revenue. The better the search experience on Google.com or wherever you can search is directly related to people clicking on those ads. Now, it might not make sense. Like, wait a minute, if the best content is on the left side and I'm clicking there, how does that translate? It does. And therefore, Google has made substantial efforts, this many efforts and more, to improve the quality of the user experience in the search result side. And this makes it increasingly difficult for us to implement cause and effect SEO tactics, okay? But there are some key things, key changes that Google has made relative to increasing content quality. One of them was an update called Panda. And it was basically to filter out thin content. So if you had a spec sheet that had 5 sections to it, SEO would come in and say, hey, make that into 5 pages. Sure, there's only 100 words per page now, but now you've got 5 unique URLs. We can get links to those URLs. You can rank for all kinds of things. Panda just said, kabam! And slap that away. Now, Google put out a blog post that listed all the things you should ask yourself to determine if something is high quality or not. And don't worry, you are going to download this presentation and you can see the text that's on your screen right now. It's crazy, but it's a lot. And so that's made SEOs and the SEO practice raised the bar on content quality. Then there was a complete overhaul of the algorithm that Google uses. It's called the Hummingbird update. And one of the things that was achieved by that was the fact that queries are getting longer. You used to be able to, you just type in pizza. Where's pizza? Kinds of pizza. Pizza Chicago. Pizza restaurants in Chicago. And then queries are getting longer and longer and starting to become natural language because you're speaking them in, or people are just literally typing actual questions as Google gets better and better at deciphering what it is that we really mean. And that's what Hummingbird, one of the big things that Hummingbird brings to the table. So the solution from an SEO standpoint is simply to focus not on, just XML sitemap, schema, structured data, and all that other stuff, but to focus on answering buyer questions. Literally, a resource section that literally posits these questions And you then answer them as a big part of your on-site content. There's huge wins for you if you do that from a search perspective. The latest thing was RankBrain, which is basically taking away human authored algorithm and relying on artificial intelligence and machine learning. So now there were hundreds of steps between cause and effect in the past, and now that's just gone. Every search query is basically an independent experience. And so this might make things seem like crap. What are we going to do to optimize our content? The good news is this. If you're a content marketer focused on creating content that's really relevant for people, for humans, this is a good day for you, because that is the direction Google is focusing on. So literally finding out what questions buyers have, literally the language that they have at the different stages of the journey, documenting those questions and publishing content and optimizing content to answer those questions, not on a technical level, but on a content level, is one of the smartest investments you could possibly make in order to attract new business at the moment of need through organic search. So making your efforts focused on understanding how people discover content, what are their content type preferences, and the triggers, the keyword triggers that would motivate them to take action. And the being the best answer thing is really identifying that specific thing, that one product or the company or whatever you're promoting stands for. What is the singular essence of what that is? And making sure you have consistent representation of that thing across channels where you're doing business. And you can architect this according to a buying journey or sales cycle, whatever you want to call it, where you identify what types of keywords make sense, awareness, interest, consideration, purchase, and so forth, and then you can map what kinds of questions people have. When you do things like keyword research, you're actually you're being empathetic. Right? Instead of instead of an egocentric view of the world and saying, well, this is what this means, and therefore that's how we're going to promote it, you're actually tapping into the mind of the buyer through keyword research and understanding what it is that they think, what's the voice of the customer, and what are they asking, and then you create content accordingly. So some of the things you can do on page specifically to make a difference in terms of content is optimizing title tags. Not just keyword, space, hyphen, space, and then some sentence, but writing title tags to inspire clicks. It's engagement, right? It's engagement that you want to inspire. So not just keywords first, because that's the best practice, the most important keyword left or first in a title tag. Write your title tags to inspire action first and foremost. There's lots and lots of content ranking really well right now that doesn't even have the keywords on the pages. I'm not necessarily saying you need to do that, but the value of content quality, content engagement, content length even, in embedded video and images is trumping old school keyword optimization in many, many cases. So as I mentioned before, go deep. Find out that specific thing and find out all the permutation of ideas around that specific thing and go deep and create a best answer resource center for whatever it is that you expect searchers to be looking for. Work on your social networks from an amplification standpoint and absolutely start looking for hand raisers for your brand and develop up-and-coming influencers, as well as working with established industry influencers. Influencers produce content and have the sort of brand or brand-individual equity that affects placement in newsfeed on social channels, for example. And they inspire a lot of links and a lot of shares. So in the end, you're really optimizing not just for Google technically, and you still do need to do technical audits, but you also need to optimize for humans. So mobile's a big deal. Again, I got a lot of suggestions here. The one thing you need to do is go to the Google Mobile Friendly Test page and type in your website address. And it will come back with whether you pass or fail. And if you fail, it's going to tell you what to do to make your website mobile friendly. Okay? If you do anything, do that, okay? Mobile, like I said, there's more mobile searches going on right now than there are on laptops, desktops, what have you. As a B2B company, you do need to be there. In terms of topic research, that's search-friendly, lots of great places you can go to. You can actually ask your customers. You can look at the contact forms that get filled for making inquiries, and you can use text analysis software to analyze what it is that people are asking in all those web forms. You can look at your internal search engine and the queries that are logged when people actually get to your site and they're still looking for stuff. You can look at that. There's lots of places that you can look for keyword ideas. You can go to a tool like Google's Keyword Planner, or you can go to a free tool like Uber Suggest, which is awesome. You know when you type in a phrase on Google and it completes it for you, and then it gives you a drop-down of suggestions? Uber Suggest scrapes all of that, and it's just amazing. What's neat is if you add the Chrome plugin called Keywords Everywhere, it will actually overlay the search volume. Whenever you're looking at any keyword on any page, so if you highlight a word and right-click, or if you're looking at a list in Google Search Console, looking at in Majestic, or anywhere keywords would be listed, SEMrush, anywhere keywords would be listed, it'll automatically give you search volume and cost per click. And in the case of SEMrush, they'll give you cost per click anyway. But cost per click lets you know how competitive that phrase is, and search volume lets you know how popular it is. And that helps you make some on-the-fly choices. Another great tool is Hubblin, which I learned about when I was in Amsterdam last week at a search conference from Patty Mugen. And this is a cool tool. So if you think about it, what questions are buyers asking? What is the syntax of their questions? Because it matters. You can go to Hubble, type in any idea, any noun, anything that you're wondering about, and it'll come back with a list of all the types of questions people are asking on social. They scrape search results to find this out, and they'll also present you related ideas that also often co-occur with the questions that came up in the search results. This is a not magical, it's an amazing tool. It's magic if you have a smart person implementing it for you. It's a cool tool. Anyway, and that's a whole growing category of tool. What questions are people asking? You've got to organize this stuff. This is a little bit of an old school resource. It's an actual spreadsheet as opposed to Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, but you could easily upload it. It's free, it's ungated. So this is for managing topics, managing editorial calendar. This one is specific for a marketing blog or blog, I should say. So it identifies topics, keywords, stage of the buying cycle, customer segment, media that will be included, so it's interactive or engaging, and where we're going to resource it. And it helps you manage all of that in one place. And then, of course, there's the active optimization itself, where you're mapping keywords to pages, mapping keywords to categories, mapping keywords to sections of your website. So there's some degree of accountability. Since Google took away in analytics most of what keywords are sending traffic to you organically, they took it away. It just says not provided now. So how do you know? Well, in our optimization efforts, if we say page 105 is about CRM software, then I know if I increase dramatically in organic search traffic, there's a pretty good chance it was from keywords that I optimized for CRM software. I can correlate that with Google Search Console as well. And obviously, just like with marketing, great content isn't great until people can find it, so you've got to promote this stuff and attract links. Use publicity, use media relations. Don't just beg for links, but earn them through earned media. I guess that's why they call it earned media. And ultimately, implement a strategy, an SEO strategy that feeds your buyers' needs for answers to their questions. It solves their pain points, helps them with their problems, with rich content experiences. 1,500 words, for some reason, is a sweet spot based on current analysis by Searchmetrics, Moz, and Backlinko. Crazy number came up with by all three of them, so it's kind of interesting. But the point is deep content. It's deep on the topic, right? And of course, interactive elements if you can, so yay for Ion Interactive, and video and images. Link building is still important. Link building is still important. One of the tools, my favorite tools, period, is BuzzSumo. BuzzSumo you can do so many things with, but one of the cool things is this. So I want to get links back to my website. I want to earn those links, but I only have so much time. I want to be efficient and effective. So I'll go to BuzzSumo, and I type in my keyword on their social search engine, and it's going to spit back what were the most shared web pages for that keyword. And then I'm going to export those search results into a CSV file, and I'm going to then do a filter on, well, which domain names have the most aggregate social shares for that keyword. And BuzzSumo will also tell me who the top authors are that publish on those domains. Now I know who to pitch, right? So the idea is that you can identify the domains that consistently, day in and day out, so to speak, get a lot of social shares, i.e. links, on a particular topic. So those are the domains, those are the publications or websites or blogs that you're going to want to focus on, because if you get picked up there, if you contribute an article or you get interviewed and they link to you or whatever, the chance of that getting shared substantially across the social web is greater. Does that make sense? You can correlate this with SEMrush data as well to find out. SEMrush will tell you what any given website is ranking on organically. And so you can look at competitors and you can look at a particular industry and you can correlate those two data points and identify what are the best possible link acquisition targets and then find a way to create value for those websites. And usually it's content. Usually it's suggesting content of some kind. So lots of other tools. SEO is a combat sport and you need tools to go into combat and survive. Whether it's all-in-one tools like Searchmetrics or Conductor, which I forgot to put on this list, or you could be using, if you're an SMB, something like Raven Tools as a sort of all-in-one. There's specialty tools like SEMrush, like Screaming Frog, SEO Spider for the propeller hat wearing people, like myself. Majestic SEO for links, and Google's tools, especially Google Search Console, which gives you a very nice view of how Google thinks of your website. And it doesn't cost you anything. Google Analytics, Google Search Console, Google Trends, great resources for you to understand what the heck's going on with search. So we use, or are often inspired by this flow in terms of an integrated approach: search, social, content, and influencer related marketing. I think of influencers the same way almost that I think of keywords. I think of a document or actually a web asset, content asset, like an ebook. And I think of that ebook and what it's about, the topic it's about. And I think, well, I want to optimize it for keywords, but I also have checkboxes in my process to, well, what influencers will I include in here as well? Every time. Anyway, starts with research and strategy, obviously everything from program objectives to customer segments and developing personas as a representation of groups of customers, if that's what you want to do, identifying keyword research, competitors, links, social, all that stuff. Content planning, clearly we want to map the keyword or topics that represent demand, and we want to map that to the content that exists and to the editorial plan for content to be created. We conduct audits, keyword audits, technical audits, social audits, link audits, to understand the landscape. And then we compare what is revealed in those audits as a sort of a benchmark to where you want to be. And the difference between where you are revealed in the audit and where you want to be from a growth standpoint is where program recommendations, that's where the implementation stuff comes from, right? Again, no content is great unless people can find it. You got to market it. You got to market your content. So attraction and promotion work hand in hand. Attraction is inbound, pull-based marketing. And of course, promotion, paid, organic, whatever, media relations, whatever you've got to do to find the right audiences and those who influence them to represent your brand in the form of content. And then, of course, there are the KPIs, according to these different tactics and methods, that help you understand that you're on track. And you monitor those key performance indicators so that you can see if there's, spikes up or down, and you can modify, you can adjust, and you can optimize program performance. So there you go. So I love Avinash's quote here. You can no longer be good at just one thing or two. It's a 10-thing world now. And I personally invest a substantial amount of time, as in 4:30 to 6:30 in the morning almost every day, consuming content, experimenting, building up a website, a blog actually, that has got enough traffic that I can actually throw some interesting digital marketing spaghetti against that wall and get real data and continuously experiment and reveal some of the results of those experiments when I do presentations and with our teams. Adapting to SEO can seem scary. How many people saw this video? Anybody? Awesome. But we can do this. Speaking of memes. So, some takeaways. It's all about the customer, right? Google's not paying the bills, it's customers that are paying the bills. So optimizing for the best possible customer experience relevant to your brand, relevant to their interests and what they're looking to solve for. Integrated and optimized, you've got different folks in your organization creating content, and I don't mean just marketing, public relations, HR, customer service. All that content can feed into the SEO function, as well as the independent functions of those different folks. And then got to go deep. So it's not about getting 5 blog posts out a week. It's about starting to plan how you can have that one amazing blog post, and you can supplement it with a cross post on LinkedIn, cross post on someone else's website, and so on and so forth. It's much better in a lot of cases, not all, because nothing's absolute, to have that one amazing, seminal, be the best answer type of content asset. And then you can repurpose and deconstruct and do all the fun things that we like to do. But have that best answer content, because that's what's going to lead the charge in the search world for you. So there you go. We just created, Ashley Zeckman on my team and Tom created this really cool new guide, the Content Marketer's Superhero Guide to SEO. So it's got tools in it, it's got best practices and that really cool checklist, so please go check it out. And of course, if you download that, you'll also be given the URL to download this whole presentation as a reminder if you didn't do it earlier today. So there you go, and I have 53 seconds left. Yeah. So any questions? Yeah. So it's just a plug-in, right? I mean, it's not AI or anything. So you do have to take into account that if I have 50 blog posts all about influencer marketing, and I've used influencer marketing in the same place in the title tag, and the amount of content and the similarity is really close, I do have to be concerned about that. It'd be better that I have, what does influencer marketing mean? And then think of all the related ideas, advocacy and so on and so forth. So take it into account, but really you should have a map of content topics or pages or whatever on the different topics you're optimizing for, and just kind of get a sense, hey, am I going too deep on this? Go to Google Search Console and see what phrases are driving the most impressions on Google for you. And if Yoast is saying, hey, you're writing about this too much, don't keep writing about that. If that's correlated with Google Search Console saying, yeah, the majority of the impressions you're getting are about that one topic, and yet you sell 10 things, then you're going to want to diversify, if that makes sense. Cool. One more question? Yeah. So the question, I think, is about sophistication when it comes to implementing SEO tactics like this. Where is B2B? Some of the most sophisticated, B2C and B2B are very different. I know you know that, but in terms of SEO, they're different too because of the time horizon for making choices. Discovery, action, bam, on a B2C scenario. But larger purchase considerations in B2C are very similar to B2B. So in B2B, they're some of the most sophisticated SEO people I know. Absolutely. Those are practitioners. Brands, there's a ton of opportunity for improvement, which is why we're so busy. So what are some of the things to pay attention to? I think the simplest thing you could do is get a tech audit squared away and make sure that you do surface those fundamental questions buyers have in the journey for a particular segment that's your most profitable, and think about, do we have the answers to those questions in our content? Because if we don't, make it. That's what I would focus on to start. That is what I would focus on to start. But I would definitely get a tech audit because there's some silly things like a robots.txt file that a web developer put on your server to make Google during the web design process, and they forget to take that one little thing out. Robots.txt file can have an instruction called disallow no follow, which means Google, don't pay attention to our site ever, never again. So then you launch your brand new website, that little instruction is on the server, and all of a sudden all the traffic goes kaboom, bye-bye. And I'm like, what the heck happened? So there's little things like that can be surfaced, and complex things like duplicate content issues and page speed that can be surfaced in a tech audit. I would definitely invest in that. We have a winner, 2 winners. Kristen, come on. I know Kristen. So Kristen Hersent and Tim Weaver, you are the winners of Optimize. I don't know if Kristen, you better have this already. Okay, thank you. We're going to clap when Tim gets down here. Thank you for the tweets. Here you go. Awesome. All right, thank you very much.